Good evening to all of you. Former Minister Honorable Neomal Perra, President of your association, Honorable Chandima Virakodi, Member of Parliament, Dr. Sarang Alahapiruma, Chairman of the Coconut Research Institute, and Mr. Kirti Veerasinghe, Chairman of the Coconut Development Authority, Mr. Fernando Pulle and other members of the head table. So the membership of the association and also ladies and gentlemen. So let me at the outset thank Chairman and the membership of the association of yours having invited us to come here to enjoy this function with all of you, who had contributed immensely for the betterment of the Sri Lankan coconut sector. So the industry is 62 years old, having started in 1960. Over a period of 6 decades, you have contributed immensely for the development and all the sustainability of the cultivation and the exports and also the production. So on behalf of the Plantation Ministry, let me thank all of you who contributed immensely for the development of the Sri Lankan export sector. Last year, starting from 2020, it was a challenging year for all of us. Not only for Sri Lankans, globally there was this pandemic which enveloped the whole world. So let me thank all of you who had contributed immensely for the development of the export sector of this country, despite the difficulties you encountered during those 2 years. Our exports grew by significant percentage in our small way. So last year was the one in which we had recorded highest export income from the plantation sector. It came up to $3.8 billion US dollars. It's a significant jump considering the fact that we get only $12 billion annually. Out of that, nearly $6 billion come from apparel sector. But once you reduce the import cost for apparel sector raw material, it's nearly about 3.5 the net gain from apparel sector. So considering that, it's the plantation sector that provides highest export revenue for this country. So I congratulate all of you. You've done wonderfully well. You recorded, the coconut sector recorded highest gain last year. You earned 836 million US dollars for the country. That was the recorded highest value, as against 665 in 2020. Then more than 15% growth. I was very intently listening to the speech made before my own by your chairman, Mr. Neomal Perra. It was more like a question paper. It's a long one, lot of queries, but he himself had answered certain issues pertaining to the issues that you face today. Fertilizer fiasco was something to be blamed actually, not only in the coconut sector, but especially for tea sector. That was an erroneous policy decision, but country didn't have. Now we are coming out of that situation. We are getting fertilizer bit by bit. But despite the popular claims, we have had a record nut production in this country last year. That's 3.3 billion. For decades, that was the highest level. So, and also tea sector experienced a better production last year than 2020. We didn't have fertilizer last year, but our tea production was lesser in 2020. So it's not only the fertilizer, it's a multitude of factors. I don't wish to enter a debate with your chairman, but you have to consider one factor. Our soil is little eroded and soil quality has gone down a lot. Not so much in the coconut sector, but in tea sector, most of the lands are more than 50 years old. Soil quality has gone down a lot. That's why it is producing less. The productivity in Sri Lankan tea estates are very low. Since you touched upon subjects from tea plantations to malnutrition, wide range of subjects covering different factors affecting your community. What I wish to draw here is, we salute you for your contributions over a period of time. Especially we saw from Mr. Fernando Pulle's presentation what you have done in an area where nobody thought of cultivating coconut. It's become a very green, and I know a lot of people had tried to follow your footsteps in relation to growing coconut in Mahavira. Some have been very successful as well. but they are small timers. So we thank all of you having taken that initiative to increase the growth of the production of the country. So policy-wise, during last 2 years, amidst difficulties, we also took certain difficult decisions. Some were a little difficult to take, but we took those decisions. As you highlighted in your speech also, we included coconut tree into tree felling act. All these years, it was only jack, breadfruit and the palm tree. Those trees were included in the tree felling act. We got the coconut tree also into tree felling act. That gazette notification regulations out now, even though it's not implemented properly. On futuristic basis, if somebody wants to cut more than 2 coconut trees, they can't do it as and when they wish. They have to take legal, rather the clearance from Gram Niladhari and the AGA to cut more than 2 trees at a time. We severely, we curtailed land fragmentation. It's not more than, it should be less than 10 lands if you had given approval for the fragmentation. Considering the fact that we need to protect our coconut land, we need to protect the tree, we need to protect the land. So we acted in that direction from the ministry side. And also, as you mentioned, we got approval from the Agrarian Service Department to cultivate coconut in abundant paddy lands. That's also happening now. So if you give us certain suggestions, we have tried to implement them. That's the policy of the ministry. That is what Coconut Cultivation Board, the CRI and also CDA must abide by. Apart from the production factor, we were also looking at different aspects to improve the productivity of the country. That's why, as against 2 million seedlings that we produced in this country in 2021, we have invested heavily to produce more seedlings in the country. So this year, 2023, Coconut Cultivation Board has doubled its production of seedlings. We have about 5 million plants at hand now. We improved the hybrid seedling production by a significant margin. CRI used to produce about 100,000 plants per annum. This year we have produced about 300,000 plants. So we continue to grow. So the planting material is available and we have allocated certain lands in certain areas. We got the RPCs to, we try our level best to convince them to go ahead with coconut plantations to ensure that we produce more in this country. But it's always the fine balance between export processes and also the export procedures of yours and your contributions and also the consumer of this country. As you mentioned, we consume about 80% of coconut produced in this country for the domestic consumption. We try to reduce the wastage. You know, you are talking on behalf of the growers. Last 2 days ago, we saw there's a news conference by the local oil millers. So they were highly critical of exportation of nuts from Sri Lanka. So if you reduce that, we were arguing in the morning with the rest of that also. I checked with you as well. So if you stop that, there will be a further price reduction for the growers. So from one side, you mentioned about the nutritional factor. Yesterday when I traveled to Goal, in my constituency, some of the voters told me, so everything has gone up by price. Fortunately, we have kept the coconut prices low. So you can consume some coconut. They're going down to about 35 to 40%, but growers are not happy about it. So it's a two-sided story always. We have to ensure that we protect the consumers from one side, but at the same time, we should not discourage the exports. So we need to get more dollars to this country. We are on the backdrop of this financial crisis. So industry people have come forward despite difficulties to support much needed, to generate much needed foreign revenue to this country. So in that regard, whatever that we need to do from the ministry side, also the other from the institutions which is under its umbrella, please be rest assured that we will do our level best to provide all the support, including we are negotiating with the Trade Minister and also with the Finance Ministry covering that subject of free trade agreement with China. Let us look at the pros and cons and go ahead. But please be rest assured, we will provide the utmost support to develop your industry on futuristic basis. And thank you very much for inviting us. And thanks a lot for your contribution for the development of the industry. Thank you very much.